Hi, everyone. Hey, welcome. It's good to see you all. Come on in and take your favorite seat. You can have the front row or you can sit in the back. It's good to see you all. Welcome back to our book study, Spiritual Discourses with Atmananda, Krishna, Menon. And it's my joy and pleasure to be your host and have a wonderful rotation of guest hosts, co-hosts. And this week is a friend. I would say, I was going to say an old friend, but she's just a friend and a beautiful friend, Rosalyn Rourke. Welcome, Rosalyn, and
thank you.
Happy to have you back again.
We've had many happy times together.
We got to do the Camino together.
Yes, very much.
We got to walk every day for anywhere from 10 to 15 miles a day. And you and Elaine Falvey, you guys were like,
You'll never believe me that that's not my natural pace. You'll never believe it. Something took over. My husband would be laughing if he heard how you perceive how fast I am.
You and Elaine were out in front of all of us. Yeah.
Yes, it happened. It happened.
Yeah, it was a beautiful time. Well, just having a really great time with these discourses and the teaching, the pointing, Rosalyn, and I know you have a few things to say and share about it, and I'm going to invite you to lead the way, as you did for the Camino.
Thank you. Well, I just love the way we start here, because that's one of the ultimate questions that people who've already been on a spiritual path wonder: what is the relationship between God and myself? And he says, God, you say, is omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, and so on. This clearly means he cannot be confined to a body because he has these attributes. He has to possess a cosmic mind, and therefore there must be a cosmic world also for the cosmic mind to function in. But the real I principle goes beyond body and mind, and therefore beyond everything objective, and so beyond God also. Nothing else exists beside it. It is therefore attributeless, it's hard to say, without attributes, Brahman. So to me, this is so brilliant, because so many other paths that we're on, we hear God is good, God is this, God is that. God is attributeless. I think that's so gorgeous and so helpful. For God to become Brahman, he has to give up all the attributes mentioned above, and then he stands as one with the I principle. So every time in these chapters that I'm discussing today, he discusses the I principle, and that's what he means. He's referring to the attributeless, the God, the what we are as well, the oneness. And I just think it's so beautiful.
All right. Yeah. I like the very first few words where he says, God, you say? You know, it's sort of a pause question. God, you say?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And that puts it in perspective. And then he continues with that idea when he says that that we are, and I'm hesitating because I don't want to use the word we, when I say that we go beyond God, that God is just a name that is placed actually in time and space,
Mhm.
that it is the name of the nameless. It's the and that's why the use of the I principle, it, it becomes the new name for for the essence of what God it comes from or arises from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jenny has brought up the unknown to us, that she's been attracted to the not knowing when she moved over from Rupert, and that she's embracing the not knowing. She's brought that up here before. And in these sections here, there is a lot about not knowing, which I found very fruitful here, because I've stepped into a kind of false knowing along the way. And it just opened me up these little mini chapters. So I wanted to point that out. Also, I had a big stumbling block on non-duality in earlier years. And that was about, in case there's anybody new, I know most people here are very advanced, experienced with this, but in case there's anybody new, I had a problem with the word object and objective, because I took it to mean not the things of the world. I took it to mean objective, meaning the truth, like objective meaning not false. It's the
Right.
objective. And that will not help. That will take you into such confusion.
Yeah.
So just in case, that is not the meaning, because ultimately we're all interested in what am I? And you can't get to that we're really just an object also if you have the wrong meaning of object. So it's really
Exactly.
important here. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. This is beautiful. What is an experience? An experience is composed of two parts, the background and the expression. Do you want to say anything about that, or do you want to read his words?
Well, I mean, I do want to read his words, but I
Ah,
love that he gives such a clear, uh, practical understanding of how the two fit together.
yeah.
How you can be the subject and the object,
Yes.
I think it has to start with what you just said. You have to have understanding. You have to have understanding of, and this is where Ramana Maharshi and Nisargadatta, I am that. The Ramana Maharshi used self-inquiry, and Nisargadatta used the negative, the
Yeah.
via negative, by saying, I'm not this, I am that, I am not
The
this,
netty.
the
Mhm.
netty. And Atmananda is coming through and saying, okay, so once you're established as the subject, you realize you're not the subject. You're not realizing your your true nature until you realize that you are the subject and the object.
Yes. But he steps you through it. His logic is impeccable. And he breaks it down to the object and the expression. And I really love that word expression. I have not seen that before,
Right.
these words. And he's so clear, he's even concrete. If you're not in the background, if you're not seeing the background, you're not seeing. You're still involved with the senses and the mind and the body. It's so helpful, because that's useful in any situation. Whatever we're in, we can use this to come back home.
Yeah. Yeah. So the moving through the answer what is an experience. He says in the third paragraph, in any experience, the expression is the objective part, and the background is the subjective part, or the reality behind it. So he's helping the questioner, each of us, he's helping the questioner to recognize our place in both.
Absolutely. And the test of every experience is to see whether it is strictly subjective or objective. The subjective alone is real, and the objective is illusion. This,
Right.
he goes back to also, if we forget, if our minds get muddied by hypnosis or old thinking, he reminds us it's the changeable. If we're looking at the changeable, we're into the objective. The background alone is the changeless. So helpful, so concrete. So, as you said earlier, not highfalutin. This is practical spirituality. He tells us how to do it, how to get there. Yes.
And the test is awareness. It's the awareness of experience is the test that brings you to the noticing of the subjective experience, or the subject.
Yeah, I see it as the test is, what am I identified with?
Right.
Who at this moment, never mind what I know 5 minutes ago, in this moment, what am I acting as though is true? Because we can slip, we can, just for the moment, have that moment, and it means nothing. We haven't lost anything. We just need to come back to what is true.
Right. Yeah. And I like what Andrew just posted. If the expression belongs to the mind and senses, who is the doer? And if the expression always belongs to the mind and senses, and so the doer, there's not a doer. There's an expression, there's a movement, there's an activity, a movement that's being expressed. So there's not a doer involved.
And the doer is, as you say, part of the activity. So it's the changeable. I can do this, I can do that. So I can't be that because it's changeable.
Right. Amy says at 1206, God as the idea of being objectless has to transcend even the idea of being an idea. This is a place we have to just let go. We cannot get there via the mind. Yeah, a lot of people, when you start looking at these ideas that you are what God is. Now, I would say I'm careful. I don't find myself saying you are God, because that's where the personal self thinks it's being the one that's receiving that idea. And it's really a matter of you, the you that you are, which is the I. You are what God is. And then, as Atmananda says, the idea goes beyond the name of God.
Yeah. And Amy, I would agree that letting go is always a good idea. It's always a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. He says something really interesting here. He says, Akasha, though not perceptible in the senses, is certainly conceivable by the mind. I looked up that word, and it means like the atmosphere or the sky or the space. So if you take it to mean, so let me read what he says. So if we're thinking of the sky or the space in our room, it's really objective in nature. So if I think of the space, this is how I understood it. If I think of the space in my room, I'm making it objective. If we take out the akasha, this last taint of objectivity ceases to be dead and inert, becomes self-luminous, and immediately shines as its background, the reality. So if I take the space of my room and really understand that it's the space of all rooms, and it's just the space beyond rooms, and it's the space of the sky and the air and everything, I have moved back into the oneness, into reality.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying. The words that you're using are still giving form to
No, well, but you
formless.
start there. That's what he's saying. You start with objective, but you can get to the reality that is without the objective. So that's just my take. We can let it go.
Right. Yeah. It's I like how he describes it as this last taint of objectivity.
Mm-hmm.
So he's really pointing to the subtle
Mm-hmm.
objectivity. He's pointing to the subtle the subtleness of the illusion that gets sort of muddled in the subject, and he's calling it a taint.
I think that's such a great point, because I think that's one of the gifts that he does. He finds the little places that we're still holding on, that there's still a you involved, and that it's subtle, and that it's up to us to find it if we want to let it go, if that's our direction.
Yeah, just to notice it. It's not even a witch. It's not a hunt.
It's not a doing. No, it's just a noticing.
Yeah.
And it's just what is at the moment. Yeah.
And Rick mentioned something here at 12:13. The doer is a construct of mind. It changes, thus not real. And that's like perfect. The doer, if there is a doer, until there's not a doer any longer, and that's what I was describing as the activity of the subject. As we're using these words, we'll just stay with the subject being is awareness, or the I principle, and the object is the subtle activity of mind, and that becomes one. And then I like also what Rick said at 12:16. I think that even space itself is a subtle placeholder. It's useful if this is understood. Yeah, that's true.
Jenny says something amazing at 12:17. She always does. All space is objective. Akasha is sometimes interpreted as ether, that which transmits light. Physics sees it differently now. It's pointing to the absence of thoughts being a subject, so subtle object. Jean Klein talked about absence of the absence. Wow. Absence of the absence. All right.
Nice. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jenny. And thanks for following along, and everyone that's participating on the chat. That's really helpful.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at 43. Who lives really?
Yeah, we generally say that every man lives. If the term man refers to the changeless I principle, and it cannot refer to anything else, we are guilty of a contradiction in terms. The changeless I principle can never undergo such changes as birth and death. Don't we speak of my past life and my future life? It's clear from these statements the I principle is beyond birth and death. For on these statements, we imply that the I principle is present before birth and after death. How then can birth and death pertain to the I principle? Therefore, the real I principle alone lives. The ignorant man believes in either the body or mind lives, while in fact, each of them dies at the end of every perception of thought. But the I principle continues unchanged through all thoughts and perceptions, lighting them up as well. Therefore, the ignorant man who identifies himself with body and mind is dying every moment, along with every perception or thought. And the jnananin who identifies himself with changeless I principle alone really lives and knows no death. Here's where it's really clear. The body idea or the ego has to die in order that you may really live. In this sense, it is the jnananin alone that really lives and knows he lives. His advice to every man is die in order to live. In other words, annihilate the personal element or ego in order that the impersonal element may not appear shrouded. This is realization, establishing oneself in the reality. Clear?
Ta-da! Super clear. I love his language, and he's speaking about dying before you die. He's speaking the words that in a very plain, very, very logical, practical way, what Jesus said 2,000 years ago. And he who seeks to save his life, or he who or she who seeks to awaken, must lose yourself to save yourself. You must lose your personal self-identity in order to awaken from the dream of separation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. Yeah.
Why did the Shastras or the scriptures prefer metrical form as the medium for discussion of the truth? And metrical means rhythmical. Truth is not expressible in words. It can only be hinted at. So important. This brings up the not knowing again. Prose is generally suited for precise and definite expositions within the realm of the intellect. In the Shastras, which deal with the truth, the reader is only to be helped to separate himself from all that is not the nitty-netty, the reality, and his attention is drawn into the inconceivable reality by mere suggestions, leaving much of the truth unsaid. So again, it's the not knowing. I just think that's so important to just get comfortable with not knowing.
Yeah. Yeah. The Shastras are the scriptures, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he says, in this process of drawing attention to the reality, I don't know how to say this properly, the acharya, I think I looked it up, but I'm not still sure. Acharya is in a plane beyond the reach of the intellect. And the expositions also come as spontaneous inspiration from the absolute against a background of simple harmony far beyond intellectual grasp. Under these conditions, the verse form is naturally preferred for exposition of the truth. I'm saying it right. In the Shastras, because the metrical harmony gradually leads the way to divine harmony, to which attention is being drawn, and that is the reality itself. I find his words so comforting.
I know.
Just kind of a home, and it's not anybody's private home. It's the home we all live in. It's the unspeakable. Yeah.
We have some help in pronunciation. Acharya, and then Shelley. Shelley's loving it. Jenny said Acharya is just a spiritual teacher with understanding and experience of all the various paths to awakening. So it's like a sage.
Yeah.
Right.
And there seems to be, Jenny can tell us more, but there seems to be levels of gurus in this system, and who's the highest, and who, it's not just the guru who has the understanding. It's, Jenny might be able to tell us, but there's one of the words in here speaks to the highest of the high. I don't know about the delineations, but they do have that. Yeah.
We don't need to get lost in the
it's certainly not where are we that's like no.
So Rosalyn, let's move to 40. Is it 43? Are we on 43?
We're now on, we're up to 45. So you want to go to
45? Let's do that idea that you were presenting in the green room for reading 45. You want to explain that?
Yeah. So I found that occasionally my own mind would get muddied. It isn't that his logic isn't impeccable, but I found like what he was saying in the beginning of a section, I would go, what? And then I found that at the bottom of the paragraph or of the section, maybe not that paragraph, it would get really, really clear. And then I could go backwards and say, then the steps, it kind of broke through the hypnosis because I got the main point. And I also got where I was being unaware that I'd fallen back into conditioned beliefs. So let me see if
so you're not talking about reading as a dyslexic. You're talking about.
No, I'm not. I understood the words, but even though the words were simple and I could see he was clear, I was kind of going like it was a koan, like it wasn't making sense. I was being scrambled. And
so
then
you're talking, let's just reference this. You're talking about going to the point of his pointing, going to the last answer or his last paragraph, reading that, and then going back and reading the
exactly
beginning. Yeah.
So on 45, let's just use that as an example. I'm not sure I don't know which is the best, but let's just take that. So the question is, how is the subject and the object one and the same reality? So let's say that was the one that scrambled my mind. Then I could go to this. I'm going to now the next page 25. Thus, the subjective I principle and the objective reality are one and the same. So this is the main point. And then he says it again. In other words, the ultimate subject, devoid of its sense of subjectivity, and the object, devoid of its objectivity, are one and the same reality itself. To me, that is so brilliant because I needed that. I needed to something that was still scrambled, that I don't even know what it was. I couldn't even put it in a question form. But once I got that clarity, I could go back to how he begins. So should we go back to how he begins?
Yeah.
I act, I perceive, I think, I feel, and I also remain all alone in my own glory. All right. It's this unattached I principle itself that appears in the acting, perceiving, thinking, and feeling while still remaining unattached and unchanged. But the ignorant man wrongly attributes all these activities.
Or woman.
What?
The
What
ignorant man or woman.
Yes, thank you. But the ignorant person wrongly attributes all these activities to the I principle, and at the same time admits without hesitation that the I is never changing. I am unaffected by any of these apparent activities. So we had a question about this before, about who's the person, about in these different activities.
Yeah, who's the doer?
I appear, right. I appear in my own glory without a change, even in all apparent activities. This shows that all these activities are unreal. And this unreality can be seen if we look at these apparent activities from a subjective standpoint. Now, looking at objects, we find that the ordinary man's experience is that the unknown subsequently becomes known. Examining this statement more closely, we find that the unknown as unknown is certainly not the known as known, because in what we call the known, there is so much of our own superimposition, such as name, form, dimensions, and numerous other attributes heaped upon the unknown. But the unknown, on the other hand, has only one general superimposition, namely the characteristic of being unknown, made upon the thing in itself. So the thing in itself, or the reality, was called unknown when viewed from the sphere of the known object. Or, in other words, it was the reality itself that appeared as the unknown. This is so juicy. And as the known without undergoing any change in itself. That is the reality in neither the unknown nor the known, but it is the background of both. Thus, the subjective I principle and the objective reality are one and the same. That's the sentence I read early. In other words, the ultimate subject, devoid of its sense of subjectivity, and the object, devoid of its objectivity, are one and the same reality itself. So somehow it helps me to know where he's going and then go back and see how he gets there.
Well, and I that's the reason, I mean, I thought it was worth taking the time to walk through it like that, because this is a helpful technique to go to the end, go to the pointing, if it's confused, because when you go to the unknown and the known and the known and the unknown, and you go back and forth, scrambled eggs happens in your mind if you're trying to follow that, unless you have a point of reference that you you have a sense of where it's going. And I think that's a great idea, a good technique to use. And Amy, who is confused? Who said that? Oh, hold your, yeah, who is confused? Well, I don't know. Not everyone, but some can be confused. I can be
No, he's
confused.
saying Amy, who's the one? He's asking Amy, who are you speaking from?
Oh, right. Oh, I see. Yes.
Yeah.
And then
I just want to say that's not a very helpful response. I think there's a lot of words in this particular lesson, and I would just really love it if we could go back and have the readers just explain it in their own words, not reading the text, but just explain what it means to them in their own terms.
Yeah.
So,
right.
thank you.
Maybe
I'm
what
sure I'm not the only one who's
Yes,
confused.
no, you're not. And that's why I brought up this technique of going to the end, because I was completely confused. My mind was scrambled. I call it hypnotized when I get into that place. So you're absolutely not alone. And so really, to simplify it, what blows my mind and the simplicity, if I were to say it really, really simply, it would be that it's all reality. It looks like one thing and it looks like the other, but it's all one. It's all consciousness. It's consciousness in a limited form, and it's consciousness in the absolute, but it's all consciousness. And it's just a simple way to get us out of, we tend to get bogged down in details. Is this it? Is this it? Like, am I in the objective? Am I in the, what am I, where am I? Like, that's all the mind. But this is just such a simple idea. It's all reality. It's just in different forms. And that's very soothing to me.
Yeah, there's only God. There's only one. There's only one self. And we fragment it. And, especially when we start talking about the ego and the illusion and the higher self and the personal self, and you use all of these descriptive terms, and you can get lost in the terms. You can get lost in, and he sort of brings it all into one place where you can realize, well, if there's only one, if everything ultimately is reality, and you have even a little hint of that understanding, you can realize that is you. That you are that. And the you that is not fragmented, and it's not a separate self, even though it has the appearance of 8 billion and a gazillion of other objects of experience. There's only presence. There's only I am. There's only the I principle, and get beyond the word, and it's just the stillness of pure presence.
I'm not sure I understand what Richard West said at the end. He says, doesn't really like the bottom line. I'm not sure. He says, well said, but though doesn't really like the bottom line. I don't understand that. I don't know if you want to pursue it or just move on.
Let's keep going. Let's go to 47. And thank you for asking for clarity on that, Amy.
Yes, Amy.
That was really good. And I also thank you, Rosalyn, for that technique. I think it's a good technique for some of these scrambled eggs kinds of verbiage.
So the thing in itself is beyond the known and the unknown. I just love that. That's so simple. We can just let go. Just let go. When the unknown, if we have that capacity at the moment, when the unknown is sensed, something objective comes in. This is really important. When you try to objectify the reality, you first superimpose form upon it. And upon this most general form, innumerable other details are superimposed by one or more of the sense organs. This is how an object is visualized. The form never exists independently of the sense organ, and so it can never exist outside the sense organ, which perceives it. So much clarity for me. We can just be done with it. It's not real, but this is how it's not real. That's how I interpret that. What we know in a perception is only our own superimposition, including our own samskaras, which means our past experiences, and it is not the reality at all, which of course is not perceivable. The thing in itself, the reality, transcends both the known and the unknown. All objects, thoughts and feelings are known through the senses or the mind, but I always know that I am. This knowledge.
Let's pause. Wait, let's pause
Sure.
right there.
Sure.
Let's pause right there, because that we're going through the words so fast. There's no place for an experience.
Okay.
I always know that I am.
Yeah. That's everything there.
So just sit with that for a minute.
Yeah.
I always know that I am. And as we sit with that, you're also saying that you are the thing itself. You are the thing that he's pointing to, the I principle, the I am presence. That's the true you, prior to a name, prior to any kind of description, characteristics of any kind. I always know that I am.
Yes.
And just receive that.
Yes.
Just have an opening for that to be known.
Yes.
Yeah. Keep going, please.
Yeah. And somebody Lynn brought up that we skipped 46.
I know.
Okay.
I think it was that I saw maybe 47 will clear it up. I just skipped right down to 47 to see if it cleared it up some. We'll go back and pick up 46.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the I am is everything.
Yeah.
That's the unchangeable. That's the background. That's before birth and death to me.
That's
Okay.
you. That's awareness.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's consciousness. This knowledge is not obtained through any sense organ or agent, and so it is called direct knowledge. And this is the thing Jenny told me, I did not know this, that Shri Atmananda is responsible for calling the path of non-duality the direct experience. He named that.
The direct path.
The direct path, yes.
Yeah. I learned it first right here, Jenny Beal.
Yeah, she's our historian.
Yeah.
So that's really important. But also, I really want to emphasize that word samskaras, which, we know that we relive in our memories and impact psychologically our past. But he's telling us here that we take everything from the past and superimpose it on the now. And that's why we don't see anything as it is. We're creating.
Yeah, we're overlaying a belief and an identity.
Yeah. Meaning and thoughts and
everything.
And experiences with our senses. We think we're feeling, thinking, seeing, knowing, and really we're just superimposing.
Yes. as Don Hoffman calls it, an interface. This is just an interface or a virtual headset that is using the filter of the headset to make up a world.
I just think this is so important because I see a lot of people who fall out from both non-duality and A Course in Miracles. They don't buy either. And it's the idea of illusion that sets a lot of people on fire. But this is a great definition of what makes up illusion is our superimposition, imposing on the now with all of this. And then who could argue that it's an illusion if we're creating it? So, a lot of people want to defend that.
Let's finish that paragraph, that discourse with the last two paragraphs. So what actually happens, even in sensory perceptions, is that the self or consciousness knows the self. Consciousness. Every sensory perception is, in fact, direct knowledge. Thus, when you come to the knowledge, when you come to knowledge, no object can exist as such. The object is only an object of the sense organs and never the object of knowing. Knowledge can know only knowledge. When a disciple retreats consciously from his or her body, senses and mind to his or her innermost self, pure consciousness, knowledge, dawns, and he or she is said to have realized. When knowledge dawns, objects and senses vanish. The same process also repeats itself during every sensory perception, and you always know nothing but the reality. And this is where a sage and one who is awake, fully awake, or even glimpses of gradually awake, this is the reality that's seen, is we gradually resolve back into the oneness that is our true self. And that's what awakening is. It's that resolution. It doesn't mean the body. I thought for years, oh, this body has to go away for me to wake up. That's not so.
Yeah, definitely not. It's the follow-up to what you just said is objects have no existence, even when known, since every perception brings only direct knowledge of the self, proving only the reality behind all. So you stand self-realized.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And initially, you see glimpses, and many of us do here. And then understanding comes in, and then you're living in, Jesus said this too, you're living in the world and you're not of the world. You know you're not this body mind. Let's go back and pick up 46.
Yeah.
It's a completely different topic. But
what's that?
It's a completely different topic. I think it was worth jumping to 47 and coming back.
It's a different topic, but to me it's the same. It's kind of in the realm of neither. We want to make it one or the other, and the water teaches us it's neither.
Yeah.
So he says water is the element. Water is both the flowing water as well as the stagnant water. So the flowingness or the stagnancy does not go into the make of water. Therefore, water does not flow, nor does it stagnate. Similarly, the I principle is both in activity and in inactivity. Therefore, it is neither, here we go again, active nor inactive. The I principle shines unchanged before, during, and after every activity or inactivity. This method of understanding the objective world and the I not only establishes oneself in the right center, but also destroys the samskara relating to them, the past experiences. It's all over then. It's neither.
Yeah.
So it's freedom.
There it is. Yeah, it's just it's all one thing. It just keeps going back to that same point.
Yeah. And the neither. I love the neither. It's just, I'm sure other people have all said it, but to me, I'm hearing it louder here in his work, the neither and the unknown. Just don't try to grasp it. That grasping of wanting it to be one or the other of anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Jenny titled her awareness podcast the living, or I think it's living in not knowing, or is it, forget the name of the title, but living in not knowing.
Yeah, I think I'm ready for Jenny's podcast.
Well,
Yeah.
they're out every fourth Friday. Is it the fourth Friday, Jenny, that they're out?
It's the second Friday.
The second Friday, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you put the link for the awareness podcast in the chat, please, Susan, so people can easily connect with that?
Yeah, sure.
Appreciate it. So let's go to 48, the Bhagavad Gita.
The Bhagavad Gita, the existent can never go out of existence, and the non-existent can never come into existence. This is the meaning of the verse. The test of the reality is whether it disappears or not. This is so central. Is it changeless? Does it disappear? It's so clear and so concrete to me. According to this test, the only thing that never disappears is the I principle, or consciousness, or as he said before, the I am. Perceptions can exist only if there are external objects, so clear. But it has been proved already that objects as such have no existence. The reality can never be an object. So it follows that even perceptions are not perceptions at all. Similarly, examining the subject, we find that the body senses and mind are also mere empty words, having no independent existence. Each in turn gets reduced into the ultimate I principle, or consciousness, which alone is real. Therefore, I alone am shining in my glory at all times without change. There's such a strong theme in all of this, right? Like if you don't get it one place, you get to hear it again another way.
Yeah, yeah. It also points out that we think we have free will. Who's we that thinks we have free will? We think we have choice. We don't choose anything. We're puppets.
It's so soothing when you really take it in after the fight of wanting to have choice. It's so, it just is. Yeah. It
is. It's freedom. It's release, and it's peace. It's all of those things when you realize, oh, I'm not in charge.
Yeah. I'm not guilty. I'm not ashamed. I didn't do anything. I just,
And also there's great, I just love that it's not dogmatic. It's not religious.
Yeah.
There's not like 144,000 people making it to the gates.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at 49.
The reality is beyond the known and the unknown. The unknown is nowhere in existence. At a higher level, it has to be said that nothing is known either. So everything is beyond the known and the unknown, and therefore is the reality. I just love it. It just takes away, am I understanding? And am I getting it? And all those kind of questions. It just is. Yeah. And I love what you just brought up, religion, because that takes us to 50. Why such open talk? A disciple asked, why was secretly so strictly observed in expounding the truth in the old Shastras, the scriptures? Evidently for fear of jeopardizing established religion and society. Religion had no place except in duality and social life. It was the prime moving force of social life in ancient times. But the concept of religion could not stand the strict logic of Vedantic truth. The sages of old who recognized the great need of religion in phenomenal life expounded the ultimate truth under a strict cover of secrecy, thus enabling religion to play its role in lower human society. But religion in the present day world has been dethroned, love that word, in many ways, and ungodly cults have come into existence in large numbers. Therefore, it's high time now to throw off the veil of secrecy and broadcast the whole truth in the face of the world, which has already advanced much intellectually.
Well, that's, that really does answer the religion piece and also the secrecy.
Yeah.
But it was, when this was, what he's talking about is even prior to Christianity, because Vedanta was here before Christianity and all the dogma that Catholicism put on religion, and then all the multiple thousands of offshoot religions came from that, and then also Islam, and I think he's speaking of Hinduism here as a religion that was a social part of their social experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's still part of many people's social life, religion and church.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because connection. We're looking for connection because it's a form of coming back to one. It's a way that we're attempting to come back to the oneness experience.
Yes.
That's why connection is so important.
And people have spoken of athletic, when you go to games and everybody joins in their team, and the right and the wrong play and all of that's what people were looking for, is that oneness, and that some people get it through their teams and their sports events. I just thought that it's quite a bit like church for some people.
Yeah. Reminds me of Karl Marx. Religion is the opiate of the people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. And Rick said, do not believe any of this. It's not required and discouraged. Given time and interest, this material will have a significant impact upon your life in ways you couldn't possibly imagine. Yes.
And Jenny says something really interesting. Russell Brand is doing amazing things on YouTube right now, dethroning the ungodly cults. Can you say a little more about that, Jenny, since we have a minute? Can you come on and say something about that?
Hi, yes, thank you, Rosalyn. I love when you teach.
Oh,
Your voice is very clarifying. So,
thank you.
and Bill, I love you too, as always.
Thank you.
Russell Brand is doing amazing work in the world. He is, yes, the comedian, actor, blah, 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 but he has taken a spiritual turn and been, it's coming through in a open and unveiling way. And it's not political what he's espousing. And when we wonder, if we wonder, what to do with all this that we're learning, this is something coming through him, is shines of a solution that's rooted in truth. It's amazing. And I don't know if anybody knows of what he's doing, and I just gave a shout out. Yeah,
That's good. That's good to know. I've watched a few of his interviews and he is funny. He is a comedian. He has recently he interviewed Muji. I knew that. And also did he recently interview Eckhart Tolle?
yes, he's everywhere, on not just on YouTube. He has a subscription format on Rumble a lot. He has to be careful of what he posts on YouTube because he gets canceled. He's already been warned as a conspiracy theorist, but it's actually not that at all if you listen. But he has some ideas of what to do with these spiritual ideas and concepts. And as Rick West posted, not beliefs, free of dogma, free of beliefs, rooted in freedom and liberty and equality of all, the one being that we are. I mean, he's talking about this stuff and what it could possibly look like in forms of institutions and ways of government, because with people have replaced government and institutions with the fall of religion in its place in society. People have turned to large institutions, and we can see how that unfolds. So I sorry to talk so much. I just wanted to give a shout out if there's any interest in what does it look like in the world, because the world is, it's not an illusion to be ignored. The Course of Miracle non-duality dilemma, it may not be enough for everyone to retreat to a cave and ponder these things. What does it look like shining into the world? So
yeah, well, mainstream world is having its awakening experience in all its different ways. And Russell Brand is he's one part. It's amazing. It's a big wave, and it's going to change everything in the next I would say 20 years. We're seeing consciousness and AI coming online in a very big way around the world. It'll be interesting to see if they compete.
Jenny, some people are asking, do you have some special videos that you would recommend?
Oh, gosh, he posts a new video every day. He and his team, they are working so hard. Unbelievable amount of material. He has a podcast. He has an awakening YouTube channel, which is where he does meditation online with groups of people. But it's called well, let me get off here and let me be specific, and I'll post it on here.
Just post it here. And if anyone else has any comments or questions on these discourses, just post them in the chat, if you have anything that you're not clear on. We have about 10 minutes left that we could take questions. And thank you, Amy, for that idea. And thank you, Jenny, for the shout out for Russell. And Rosalyn, is there anything else we need to look at for this for these discourses? I think we've come to the end of covering them, unless there's a question.
No, I'm very comfortable that we said what needed to be said. He's so eloquent and clear. And I don't know if I studied this more because I was participating in this way, but it felt more like these chapters or sections really pulled together in a way even more with a theme and a clarity than some of them. They were all great, but I think maybe that's why there are maybe less questions on this one, because he says it over and over, kind of the same principles in this one. Kind of yes and no, you know, how the guru will often answer yes and no. There's a lot of that in this.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, we will continue with the book study next week with Joel Drasner. He'll be our co-host. And Rosalyn, it has been awesome having you as a co-host this week. So good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jenny did post here, so if you want to catch that before you sign off.
Yeah. If you want to click on that link, or no, just copy the holy Trump. Holy shit. Trump is going to jail. Oh, good. In my mind, that's good. All right, everyone. Thank you for
Thank
being
you,
here.
everybody.
Yeah, I love you all. And we'll see you this next week. We'll just end a little early this week. And we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.